Hello and welcome to Unacademy, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil service aspirants. Welcome to another session of Economy Weekly Recap, wherein we are taking certain very important economy-related articles which have appeared in different newspapers such as Mint, Indian Express, Business Standard, Economic Times, etc. And we will have a detailed discussion on these particular topics. So these are some of the very important articles that I've picked up in the last week that we will take up for discussion. First, a very important announcement. Starting tomorrow, we are going to launch online classroom program, English batch. 6 a.m. tomorrow, every day, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. we will have the classes which will be taken by faculty such as me, Sarmat sir, Chetan sir, Abhishek sir and many others. So those who are interested, please check out the link. Now, let's start with the first topic. Reserve Bank of India or the Monetary Policy Committee has made certain changes, and very recently a monetary policy review was conducted. Now, what are the important points that you must take note of? Because many of the students or learners will keep on asking me, sir, should we remember all the changes that are done in an announcement in the monetary policy? I would recommend that you don't have to by heart or simply mug up all the things that are announced. For example, there is a rate, very important rate, of course, repo rate. In every monetary policy review, there will be certain announcement done regarding repo rate. Either the Monetary Policy Committee will increase the repo rate or decrease the repo rate or maintain the repo rate the same, because it is the most important policy tool. But should you remember what is the repo rate? At once every 2 months there is an announcement. Should you remember it? My answer to that question is absolutely no. Do not waste your time. This is a very, very often changed indicator by Reserve Bank of India. So in the UPSC examination, for prelims, I don't see a question where UPSC will ask you, what is the repo rate right now? Please tell me. Maybe for other examinations, there might be a question based on that. So as usual, please understand, the Monetary Policy Review Committee stated that we will not be changing the repo rate. We will keep it the same at 6.5%. But does it mean no other point is important in the announcements? What were the other important areas that were touched upon by the Monetary Policy Review Committee? Let's look at them. As far as I'm concerned, these are the most important announcements that have been done by the committee. First one, new rules for the verification of digital payments will be introduced. Now, Reserve Bank of India and even Government of India has been concerned about the digital transactions. Specifically, within digital transactions, there has been a concern raised regarding the fake accounts which have been created, or there have been concerns regarding fraud transactions which have been conducted. So RBI now says, over a period of time, new type of technologies have been introduced. Right now, the concept that is used in conducting digital transactions is very simple. Imagine I want to make a payment, and if I initiate this particular transaction, I will get OTP. I'm pretty sure all of you have heard of OTP as well as used OTP. OTP basically stands for one-time password. And right now, most of the banks or the payment facilitators, what they follow is SMS-based OTP mechanism. And RBI clearly says, we have not recommended this to be the only method. I repeat, RBI stated very recently that although we are using the idea of SMS-based OTP mechanism, this is not recommended by us as a mandatory process. And even in case of SMS-based OTP system, what if there is a fraud transaction? Your SIM can be cloned. You might have lost your SIM card. There are so many issues related to that. In order to address this issue, now RBI says, can we have a new system of conducting digital transactions or digital payments where we will have certain other types of additional factor authentication system. For example, can we use Aadhaar to ensure that the person who is conducting the transaction is present? Can we use a scanner to ensure that the person who is conducting the transaction, this is basically called as a principal based transaction, can we use any other type of a technology? Right? Because there is a lot of advancement in technology that is available. Can we use anything else apart from OTP based transaction system that we have currently? That is one very important announcement that has been done by RBI, and in the coming days you will come across a lot of articles regarding this. Second one, there is one more system of payment called as Aadhaar enabled payment system. Now, what is this AEPS? What is this Aadhaar enabled payment? Imagine there is a village. Okay, let's assume this is a village. In village, many people have bank accounts, but this village is very far from city where the bank branch is present. And this is very common in India, where surrounding a city, surrounding a place, small villages or hamlets are there. Customers of the bank are there, but the bank branches are not present in all of these villages. Now, the problem is these villagers who have got the bank account, if they want to conduct a transaction, they will have to travel all the way to a city. In order to address this situation, we have set up a system called as banking correspondent or bank sathis. And this is very, very famous. And in order to facilitate the transactions through bank sathis, we have introduced a system called as AEPS, Aadhaar enabled system. Under Aadhaar enabled payment system, a bank sathi or a business correspondent or a bank correspondent will have a handhold or handheld machine. In simple terms, these are called as micro ATMs. Let's say the person has, the bank sathi has, the machine in the hand. I as a customer, I will have to provide my Aadhaar authentication, and using my Aadhaar authentication, I can conduct banking transactions. And even here, although this is although this is now spread in rural India, even here RBI says there are certain issues regarding the security. There are certain concerns raised regarding onboarding as well as the risk management, the fraud risk management in this kind of a system. And that is the precise reason RBI has announced to streamline the process of onboarding AEPS service providers and introduce additional fraud risk management measures. And this is needed. I'll tell you why. It's very important. The reason being, this kind of a system is very much famous in a rural part of India. Rural part of India, villages. And the customers, especially in the villages, it could be the bank customers or beneficiaries of various schemes who are receiving the benefits in their bank account, they are very gullible in the sense they are not very digitally literate. They do not understand many of these, the fraud mechanisms which can be used, and the money can be lost by them. So that is the reason RBI says we will look into all of this. Third very important announcement, key financial statement, KFS, key financial statement. Now, what is this idea of a key financial statement? Let me ask a very simple question, but I want your answer honestly. Please answer honestly. Imagine you purchase any product or any service, and the person who is selling the service to you will give a document. For example, you want to opt for an insurance product, you want to opt for an investment product, and whenever you approach, let's say any bank, any insurance company, etc., they will give you a long list of papers. That is basically they will give you Form X, Form Y, Form Z, etc., etc. And if you look at these forms, they will ask you to sign at multiple places, but they will ask you to read all the points very carefully first. That is, in simple terms, they'll say, read terms and conditions. And if you have observed these particular forms, the terms and conditions are very, very high in number, and the size of terms and conditions is even smaller than the size of the ants. So you will look at the terms and conditions and you'll basically feel, I cannot spend so much of time. Even if I read, right, I will not understand it. Or some of you are least bothered about terms and conditions, and you'll simply sign and give the forms. Am I correct or not? Now apply the same logic to a bank loan. Imagine you apply for a loan, the bank is willing to provide you loan, or the person over the phone will pitch you, right, or pitch a loan product for you. It looks very favorable to you. You are attracted to this particular loan product. You want to apply for the loan product. But what might happen is they will give you a document because you feel the person who has explained to you, he has explained or she has explained everything very clearly. They have been very, very honest and transparent, or you are least bothered about all of these other conditions, etc. You will simply sign on the loan document and later realize if they want to process the loan, there are certain charges. If you want to take loan, you will have to incur certain expenses in form X, form Y, or in the form of Z expenditure. Now you will basically say and scold yourself and say that you should have read the documents very carefully. And that is basically the idea of a key financial statement. Whenever you apply for a loan, RBI says the bank must issue a document which will have all the information related to the loan. What kind of the product is it? What is the rate of interest applicable on it? Are there any other charges to process the loan application, etc., etc. All the details must be provided, and that document is referred to as key financial statement. Now RBI says whenever the banks will issue certain types of loans, the key financial statement must be issued by the bank. Because now if the bank will issue a key financial statement, the process will become much more transparent. Point number one, the whole process will become much more transparent. Not only this, the customer, such as you, such as me, we are having all the information related to charges which are associated with this kind of a loan product. So transparency will improve, right? The information or the knowledge that is given to the farmers regarding the loan products will also improve. And the borrowers, not the farmers, the borrowers can take a decision based on all the information that is available to them. So that is the argument regarding key financial statement. Next, the Reserve Bank of India also plans to introduce additional functionality of programmability in CBDC retail payments. Now, what is CBDC? Central Board Digital Currency. And basically, there are two types of CBDCs. One is wholesale and the other one is retail. RBI is promoting both of these digital currencies. Now, RBI says, over a period of time, can we make certain changes to CBDC in such a way that all the welfare payments which are given by the government, can we ensure that the payments are done through CBDC? Again, this is just a thinking. I am not saying RBI is doing it now. Maybe in the future, can we make it in such a way that, can we change the functionality of CBDC in such a way that tomorrow, or let's say maybe in the future, the money that is transferred by the government, can we pay it through CBDC? Can we ensure that these CBDCs will be used in certain geographical regions only, etc. That is the whole idea. Make the changes to functionality of the CBDC so that the adoption will be much higher in the future. So these are certain very important announcements done by Reserve Bank of India in the recently concluded monetary policy review. Now, based on this, I have given a question. Consider the following statements regarding AEPS. Under this, only credit transactions can be conducted. Absolutely no. Under AEPS, both credit as well as debit transactions can be conducted. Wrong. Using AEPS, the beneficiary can withdraw the social security benefits. Of course, yes. Right? Using this AEPS system, can you as a beneficiary, as an account holder, can you withdraw the funds from your bank account, the social security benefits that you have received? Of course, yes. So, second one is correct. Right option for the question will be option B. Only 2 is correct. Now, Next article, which appeared in Mint newspaper on the 5th of February. Bhaba may help reduce post-harvest onion losses using gamma rays. Now, what is this article all about? In the last 1 year, there has been a lot of discussion regarding, can we use food irradiation methodology in order to reduce wastages of the food or agriculture output in India. Because please understand this, very often whenever you read about agriculture sector in India, the output is there, some of the output will be lost. Some of the output will be lost, both in horticulture product and cereal products, etc. because we do not have sufficient warehousing capacity. Now, as a result of this, lot of wastages do take place in India. And one such product that is generally causing lot of problems, not only to the consumers, but also to various governments at the state level, at the central level, is the product onion. Onion losses, onion, you call it whatever you want. So, one of the issues has been that we produce onion in India, but some of this produce will be lost. Some of you will basically say, but sir, what if I have warehousing for onion? We warehouse onion, we store onion. But because please understand this, once we put it under storage facility, cold warehousing, the warehousing that is done, even during that period of time, there is a germination, there is a growth that is taking place in the onion as a product. And as a result of this germination process, as a result of this growth process, the onion will start losing the quality. Rotting of the onion will happen. What can be done? How do we address this situation? Because please understand this, over a period of time, you must have seen this in the newspaper. At one point of time, supply of this product is very high in the market prices will come down. And another point of time, supply becomes constrained, supply becomes lesser, and the market prices will start shooting through the roof. For example, last year, you must have read it in the newspaper, the market prices of onion hitting 200 rupees per kg, 150 rupees per kg, 180 rupees per kg, more than 200 rupees per kg even. So, what can be done? One way to address this particular issue of supply and demand mismatch is that now this Atomic Energy Institute, Bhaba Atomic Energy Research Facility, they have come out with a recommendation where they say, let's use the irradiation methodology. Let's use food irradiation methodology. Now, what is this idea of a food irradiation methodology? Certain quantity of gamma rays or X-rays or some other types of rays are used, and the food grains, not just only food grains, please understand, because food irradiation can be used for the meat products also, can be used in case of fruits, in case of vegetables, in case of cereals, etc. So, the idea is that we will use gamma rays, X-rays, etc. And when we expose these products to a certain extent of these kinds of rays, we'll be able to kill any kind of microorganism that is present on the surface. We'll be able to slow down the process of growth or process of ripening in these kind of crops. We'll make it much more safer for the consumers to store it and also consume it. And because we are killing these kind of organisms, the shelf life, please remember this, the shelf life of the product will improve. The shelf life of the product will increase. What do you mean by shelf life here? Shelf life basically represents the expiry date. In simple terms, the shelf life basically represents an expiry date. For example, right now wherever you're sitting, I'm pretty sure, at least in case of most of you, there will be a pack of biscuits right in front of you. There will be a fruit juice bottle in front of you, or there can be a chocolate right in front of you. If you look at it very carefully, they would have written best before 3 months, best before 6 months, best before 45 days, etc. That is nothing but the best before date, which is again not the same but equivalent to the idea of an expiry date. So the shelf life simply means for what duration the product remains fit for consumption. Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement. Shelf life simply means for what duration the product remains fit for consumption. That is called as shelf life. So by exposing these products to radiation here, the shelf life of the product will get extended. And please remember this, as per the data that has been given, and this is not being done very recently, they are trying it for the last 1 year. The wastages in case of onion is to the extent of around 25%. 25% of the output we lose because of various issues. And the value of this output that we end up losing is to the extent of more than 11,000 crore rupees. More than 11,000 crore rupees. Now the whole idea is that let's use this kind of a technology, food irradiation methodology, so that the wastages will come down, shelf life can get extended, and to a certain extent the supply demand mismatches can be addressed. Now questions on this can be asked in prelims also as well as mains. For example, what if in the mains examination UPSC will ask you to write a note on technology that can be used to reduce wastages? Is it okay? Technology that can be used to reduce wastages. For example, in warehousing, government is promoting the idea of silo warehousing now. Against the traditional warehousing, government is now promoting the idea of silo warehousing. Right? For example, the idea of food irradiation. All these are the types of technologies that government can use to basically ensure supply and demand mismatches are reduced and the price variations in the market are also reduced. And more importantly, one of the outcomes will be wastages can be controlled. So these are certain points. Now some of you might be wondering, sir, if we are going to expose, let's say, vegetables, fruits, meat products, etc. to radiation, and if I eat it, will that radiation have an impact on my health? Various agencies have conducted studies regarding this and they basically say no. Right? Their argument is the radiation that is there, right, will not cause any harm to the human life. Right? Please do not be worried. And second, it's not that only in India we are discussing the concept of exposing these to radiation. Many countries around the world, more than 60 countries around the world are actually practicing the concept of food irradiation. And whenever in the market, next time, whenever in the market you come across this kind of a symbol, please remember this. Whenever in the market, next time you come across this kind of a symbol, please remember this logo or symbol is called as Radura logo or Radura symbol. And this basically showcases or proves that whatever product you are purchasing, right, this is an irradiated food product. This is basically a product which has been exposed to radiation and it has been irradiated. That is the basic meaning of the symbol. Please be very, very careful. And this symbol is universal in nature. In USA also they use the same Radura symbol, India also same, and in other countries also the same. So these are certain important points that I wanted to discuss regarding the initiative of reducing food wastages. Now question on this. Which of the following are the outcomes of food irradiation? Delayed ripening process? Of course, yes. Increasing the shelf life of the product? Yes. And it will also kill parasites which are present. So all the three are correct. Right option for this question will be option C, all of the above three statements or the outcomes. Next article. The cabinet approves new fisheries scheme. Now regarding fisheries, regarding the concept of fisheries, we have been discussing a lot. In the budget, there was an announcement regarding fisheries. We have made a discussion on that. Earlier also, in other classes, we have seen or we have at least mentioned the idea of a fisheries sector, various yojanas, etc. Now, in continuation of that, one more point, right? Whatever we've discussed, to those points, you add this point now. Under the initiative, earlier initiative of Government of India, Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, PMMSY, Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, which was launched in 2020 under the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. Now, Government of India has launched one more fisheries scheme. One more scheme under Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. And this name of the scheme is Pradhan Mantri Matsya Kisan Samruddhi Saha Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Matsya Kisan Samruddhi Saha Yojana. PMMSY. Please remember the name of the scheme. It will be launched as a part and parcel of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. That will become a bigger scheme, umbrella scheme. Under that, you will have a PMMSY. Now, what is the initiative all about? What has been announced by the government as of now? Under this initiative, please remember this, under this initiative, Government of India says the government will be spending around 6,000 crore rupee. It is there in the slide as well. Please have a look at it. The government will be spending around 4,000 crore rupees. And for what duration? This will be spent in the next 4 years. This will be spent for the next 4 years. So 6,000 crores for the next 4 years. For what purpose? For what purpose this kind of an initiative will be launched by the government? Government says there is a lot of presence of small and marginal enterprises in the fishery sector. Small and marginal enterprises in the fishery sector. Now, what we are trying to do with this kind of an initiative is that we will try to formalize. Please remember, we will try to formalize. From informal, we will try to make these units. The whole sector will try to push it towards the formalization. That is the whole idea regarding the concept of PMMSY. Now, this is just a tidbit for prelims. You can use it in the prelims, or else in the mains examination, if at all anything is asked. If at all anything is asked regarding fishery sector, you can use this particular point as well. Okay. So, these are certain points regarding the new initiative of Government of India to promote fishery sector. And going forward, I am pretty sure going forward we'll discuss more on fishery sector. Why? By the end of this month, we will come across WTO's ministerial conference. WTO's ministerial conference meeting. And it is expected that during this WTO's ministerial conference meeting, there will be discussion on fisheries subsidy. So I hope, right, I'm pretty sure going forward, maybe at the end of the month, we will have a discussion again on the idea of fishery sector, fishery subsidy, what is the contention in the WTO, what is Government of India's argument, etc., etc. But don't worry, that is a discussion for another day. Next, very important article. As far as I am concerned, this article is important. Why? Most of the newspapers carried the headline and they said the tax to GDP ratio has hit an all-time high of 11.7%. Just factual information has been provided in most of the newspaper articles. But for a civil service aspirants, what is the importance of this news? That is more important for you. Do not by heart the number and just go forward. Understand the implications of the number as well. Now, what are these numbers? What is the implication? What is the importance? How can you connect the dots? Right? Basically, drag it back to UPSC importance. Let's try and look at it. Very recently, the Government of India's authority, that is basically the Central Board of Direct Taxes Authority, has stated that the tax to GDP ratio will be hitting 11.7%. Now, what is this tax to GDP ratio? Simple. If you look at the tax to GDP ratio, and if it is 11%, it simply means for every 100 rupees GDP, the taxes collected will be equivalent to 11 rupees 70 paisa. But what does it mean actually? What does it actually mean? Point number one, 11 rupees 70 paisa out of a GDP of 100, it simply means out of the total market prices of 100 rupee worth of goods and services, 11 rupees 70 paisa has been collected by the government in the form of taxes. That is the meaning. Point number one. Point number 2, whenever you talk about tax to GDP ratio, it also gives a very important information how much tax receipts are collected by the government. How much are the tax receipts? What is the total level of tax receipts collected by the government? And that is also equally important. Reason being, government every year in the budget makes announcements regarding receipt collection and expenditure. Now, if the government of India wants to spend money, they will have to collect more money, especially in the form of tax receipts. And that is the reason, if your tax to GDP ratio keeps on increasing, it also indicates that government will be able to get money, more money in the form of tax receipts, so that its dependence on the borrowings will come down. All of you okay with this? I'll repeat it again. If the tax to GDP ratio keeps on increasing, it essentially means government is able to collect more and more receipts, and its dependence on the borrowings will become lesser. That is a point number 2. Now, whenever you talk about taxes, you can divide them into 2 parts. One is a direct tax, second one is indirect tax. One is a direct tax, second one is indirect tax. Now, as per the data that has been given by the government, the direct taxes will be accounting for somewhere around 6.5% to 6.6%, somewhere around 6.5% of GDP. And the indirect taxes will account for somewhere around 5% of GDP. I'm not taking exact numbers, I'm rounding about the numbers. So the direct taxes account for 6.5% of GDP and indirect taxes account for around 5% of GDP. What does it actually indicate? What does it actually indicate? What is the importance of this? Understand this carefully. Direct taxes are specific in nature, and when I say specific here, please understand, direct taxes can be used by the government to differentiate between the taxpayers. They can be used to differentiate between the taxpayers. That is, if you are a rich person, government will collect more taxes. If you are a poor person, government will be collecting lesser taxes from you. Whereas in case of indirect taxes, government cannot differentiate between the consumers. Meaning what? Imagine, right, Mr. Mukesh Ambani will come to the market and purchase this marker. GST is 18 rupees. Hypothetically, he will end up paying 18 rupees. You come to the market, purchase this marker. How much is the GST you will pay? 18 rupees. I will come to the market, purchase this marker. How much GST I will pay? 18 rupees. So don't you think the indirect taxes, you cannot differentiate between the consumers? Whereas direct taxes such as income tax, can you differentiate between the consumers? Can you differentiate between the taxpayers? Of course, yes. That is the reason always the argument is that the indirect taxes collection should not be more, should be lesser compared to direct taxes. That is point number 1. Point number 2, if you look at direct taxes, now focus on direct taxes. Within direct taxes, we can mainly divide them into 2 very important types. Again, there are many types. 2 very important types of direct taxes. One is income tax and the second one is corporate tax. Very, very important. Please understand this. One is income tax. The second one is corporate tax. Now, if you look at the breakup, if you basically look at the breakup, you will realize that the income tax collections in India are increasing, and that's important. Income tax collections in India are increasing, right, compared to corporate tax collections. That is, in simple terms, what I'm trying to convey to you people is, no doubt, the direct tax collections have improved, but this improvement in the direct tax collection is not uniform. Some of the areas collections are much higher compared to other areas. Now, 2 questions will arise here. Why, sir? Why is that income tax collections have improved? Why not corporate tax collections? Reasons are very simple and there are certain concerns that you need to understand. Point number 1, the tax base in India has improved. The tax base in India has improved. And what do you mean by the term tax base here? Tax base simply means any object on which government can impose a tax and collect taxes. All of you okay? I'll repeat it. What do you mean by the term tax base? Any object on which government can impose a tax and collect a tax is called as a tax base. For example, a product. For example, income of a person. For example, a service, etc. So this is basically comprises of the term tax base. In case of income taxes, please remember, number of income tax filings have increased. Number of income tax filings have increased. Right, so that is one, tax base has improved. Second reason is, understand this carefully, the government over a period of time has ensured that people at the lowest rung of the society, people with low income will pay lesser amount of the income in the form of income taxes compared to people in the higher income level. Right, how to approve it? In case of income taxes, right now if you see, there are two regimes, there are two systems of collection, imposition and collection of income taxes. Under one system, up to 7 lakh rupees, people will not have to pay any income tax. Earlier it was 2.2 lakh rupees, now it has been increased to around 7 lakh rupees. So on one side we have reduced the tax collection, which becomes a burden on the poor people or middle class, certain middle class households. Now some of you look at it and say, but sir, that will lead to loss of tax revenues for the government. Government says, don't worry. On the other side, the highest tax rate which is applicable, we have increased it. Couple of years ago, the highest tax rate which was applicable was somewhere in the range of 33.9%. I repeat, the highest tax rate which was applicable was somewhere around 33.9%. And as per the latest data given by the government, highest tax rate that is applicable is 42.7%. So on one side, we have reduced the tax burden. On the other side, we have increased the tax rate on rich people in Indian economy so that we will be able to collect more and more income tax. And that has actually resulted in higher tax revenue collection. And the third very important point here, some of the leakages that were happening earlier, government has tried to plug these leakages. How do I prove it? Have you heard of the term tax deduction at source? I'll repeat, tax deduction at source, which means before the income is given to you, the tax will be deducted and given to Government of India. For example, if you are a salaried employee in a company, and if your income is taxable, the company will withhold that particular income tax, contribute to Government of India. That is the tax deduction at source. According to the data that has been published, the tax deduction at sources, that has increased by a lot. It has increased by a lot now. And because the tax deduction at source has increased, whatever leakages were happening earlier, these leakages have come down. So these are some of the reasons why the income tax collections have improved in India in recent times. But having said so, are there any concerns regarding this? Are there any concerns, right? Are there any issues regarding whatever data that we have discussed so far? Of course, yes. Point number one, the Government of India reduced corporate tax rate. This is a fact, by the way. The Government of India reduced corporate tax rate. Earlier it was around 30%. They have dragged it down to 22%. And effective tax rate, including cesses and surcharges, it will go up to around 25.17%. Despite Government of India reducing the corporate tax rate, the amount of tax receipts which are collected have not changed or have not improved. Right? And again, some of you might be thinking, sir, how can you talk about reducing the corporate tax rate and increase the tax collection? There is a concept called as a Lorenz curve. There is this idea called as Lorenz curve. And in the Lorenz curve, generally if you assume, right, understand this, generally if you assume, if you reduce the corporate tax rate, the amount of tax receipts collected should be higher. Assuming along the y-axis you will represent the tax revenue collected, and along x-axis you will represent the tax rate. So according to Lorenz curve, if you reduce the corporate tax rate, the receipts collected, the revenue collected should have increased. It has not worked out in favor of government of India. That is point number one. Point number two is, yes, the taxes collections have improved, no doubt. But the concern has been that lot of these taxes are coming from very few states. That is, according to the data that has been given by the government, the top 7 states account for 75% of these taxes. So concentration, right? So which means most of the economic activity is happening in these states only, right? So that is one more concern which has been raised regarding the data that has been published by the government very, very recently. So these are certain points. Please go through them. Next article, agriculture storage units to be set up in 65,000 villages. Again, just continuing what we have discussed earlier, warehousing is a problem in India. Warehousing is a problem. All the villages in India, right, or all the areas of cultivation in India are not connected by a warehousing in short distance. They will have to travel certain more distance if they want to warehouse, if they want to store the products as such. And that is also one of the reasons why there are losses in the agriculture sector. Now, what has been proposed by the government? Government of India now says, we will promote and establish 65,000 warehousing units. 65,000 warehouses we will set up in various villages, specifically, right, using 65,000 primary agriculture credit societies. Through PSES, we will set up these 65,000 warehousing storage units across India. And for this, government now says, we have multiple schemes already. What kind of schemes? We have Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. In fact, it is given Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, right? Agriculture Marketing Infrastructure, right? That is MAI, Marketing Infrastructure. There are various other schemes as well, right? Submission on agriculture mechanization, etc. So multiple schemes are there. We will basically, right, promote this initiative of setting up of more than 65,000 warehouses, right, by consolidating all these initiatives of the government. But what is the importance of this article? Is it sufficient to simply by heart, right, 65,000 warehouses and go forward? Absolutely no. Point number one, this will help us in promotion of warehousing, especially in rural part of India, especially in, right, villages. Point number one. Point number two, there is a concern regarding the financial position, financial viability of primary agriculture credit societies. And this is nothing new. Earlier also, various initiatives have been launched just to ensure that the PSES will become financially viable units. Now, Government of India says, if PSES will start providing warehousing capacity, they will impose certain charges, collect the charges. This will increase the viability, business revenues of this PSES, and this will improve the viability of the PSES. That's a second very important point. Third very important point, if we develop these warehouses, 65,000 plus warehouses, we can also ensure that throughout India, warehousing infrastructure is promoted. Next important point, throughout India, we can establish a supply chain, warehousing supply chain, and these 65,000 warehouses can be integrated into this nationwide supply chain warehousing network. These are some of the objectives with which Government of India has announced establishment of 65,000 warehouses throughout India. Done. Next, two very important articles. In the last couple of weeks, I'm pretty sure you must have seen one state government, Kerala, is having multiple, let's say, friction points with the central government. And Kerala is not the only government to have certain differences in the opinion of the policies of the center. Multiple states are voicing their concern regarding the policies of the central government. But what I'm going to discuss, two important articles. One is regarding central government curb, central government imposing restrictions of state government participation under open market sale scheme. And second one is, in Supreme Court of India, there is a discussion that has been happening regarding financial viability of state finances of Kerala. Central government has submitted certain observations, and opposed to that, Kerala government also has given certain observations. And this is a never-ending saga between the central and states. What are the points? Let's try and understand. Point number one, regarding OMSS. What is this basic idea for OMSS? OMSS stands for Open Market Sale Scheme. Is it okay? I'll repeat it. Open Market Sale Scheme. Under Open Market Sale Scheme, whenever there is a constraint over supply of certain agriculture commodities in the market, market prices will start increasing. Government agency such as Food Corporation of India, it has purchased and stored the food grains. Now they will auction the food grains, sell the food grains in the market at certain price, and ensure that supply will increase, prices will stabilize. This is basically the idea of Open Market Sale Scheme. But last year, Government of India imposed restrictions over participation of the state government whenever the center will conduct Open Market Sale Scheme. Why? What was the argument given by the Government of India? And what was the argument given by the state governments? State governments basically used to participate in the OMSS, purchase food grains, whatever is sold at a price by Food Corporation of India, and use these food grains for conducting various initiatives of the state government. But on the other side, central government said, I am through FCI trying to sell these food grains. States are participating, purchasing at a lesser price, right? I'm going to incur certain expenditure because of this. And what are they doing? They are purchasing the food grains to run their free distribution programs. For example, Government of Karnataka, right? Under various initiatives of the government, state governments. For example, State Government of Karnataka has an initiative by the name of Annabhagya, where certain quantity of food grains is given at a very, very subsidized price, the free of a cost to various beneficiaries. So central government said, I already have an initiative where I am giving free food grains. Now to control the market prices, I am conducting OMSS. You are participating in the OMSS, you are purchasing food grain, and you are selling the food grains at free of a cost at subsidized prices to beneficiaries. Right? What is the point? I am going to incur excess expenditure. My objective of stabilizing market prices are not being met. That is the precise reason center barred participation of the state governments whenever OMSS is conducted by Food Corporation of India. Against this policy of the central government, Kerala government has raised objection. The Kerala government's argument is that we should not be barred from the participation, we should also be allowed. No doubt, certain allocations are done from the central pool to all the states by the central government. But beyond this, we would want to purchase food grains for distribution purposes, for various other initiatives that we have launched. So we should not be barred. We should be allowed to participate. Otherwise, this might create inefficiencies between supply and demand and contribute to various inflationary pressures. That is the first article that I want to cover. Second article that I want to cover is the issue of debt of the center. Again, this is as a result of the submission by Kerala government in Supreme Court of India. Let me tell you a basic outline here. Couple of months ago, Kerala government, citing various policies of the central government, approached the Supreme Court of India. And what is the contention of the Kerala government? The central government, through various policies such as usage of Article 293, right, or let's say FRBM provisions, usage of FRBM provisions, right, Article 293 subsection section 3, etc., is imposing lot of restrictions on the Kerala government, and as a result of this, Kerala government is not able to satisfy the announcements that they have done in the budget. And these policies are pushing the state governments into financial crisis. Now, against that, the central government gave certain submission to the Supreme Court of India and said, Kerala government, the financials of the Kerala government are in a disarray because of the activities of the state government, because of policies of the state government. In fact, in the Supreme Court of India, they said that it is one of the most financially mismanaged states in India. Against that argument, Kerala government has given one more submission. Kerala government now says, how can the center say we are one of the most mismanaged states? Please look at the debt. Debt means basically the repayment. How much money we have borrowed, how much we will have to repay. That is called as a debt. And there are two terms that are generally used. Please remember this. If the newspaper uses the term public debt, if the newspaper uses the term public debt, it represents a debt of the central government. And if the newspaper uses the term general debt basically is the debt of the center plus state. Now understand this. If you look at the overall or the general debt of India, that is center plus state, more than 70% of this debt is of the central government. So the Kerala government's argument is center accounts for 60 to 70% of India's debt, and the Kerala government accounts, or the state of Kerala accounts for 1.7% of the total debt here. So how can center accuse the state government of Kerala or the state of Kerala to be fiscally indisciplined? It is rather the central government. And again, some of you might be thinking, sir, why is that? Center has very high debt. Reason is simple. Please understand this. Central government has larger responsibilities, and that is the reason the central government debt generally remains very, very high out of the total debt of center plus states. That will remain very high. And in this regard, suddenly UPSC can pick up a question on FRBM review committee. I am pretty sure all of you heard of this. There was a committee that was set up by the central government, union government, FRBM review committee, or else also referred to as NK Singh review committee. The NK Singh committee regarding the FRBM review recommended that both the center plus states put together, the debt should not be more than 60%. And today, both the center plus states put together, the debt is more than 80%. So those kind of questions can be asked because this is there in the current affairs. Please be very, very careful. Next article, full quorum in CCI, it is yet to decide on 20 cases. Right? There are two very important articles here, both predominantly related to prelims. I don't think so UPSC is going to pick up questions on this in the mains, but predominantly targeting prelims. Now we have an authority called as Competition Commission of India. CCI, Competition Commission of India. The composition of Competition Commission of India is basically one chairman plus 6 members, 1 plus 6, 1 plus 6, one chairman plus 6 members. And the quorum requirement, quorum means what? What is the minimum number of members who are present? What should be the minimum number so that the decisions can be taken? The quorum requirement of Competition Commission of India is at least 3 members. At least 3 members. Quorum requirement is at least 3 members. And for last many months, for more than 10 months now, right, the quorum requirement was provided in the month of October last year. For many months, for more than 10 months, there was no quorum which was present in Competition Commission of India. Quorum was not present. And whenever quorum is not present, the problem becomes that Competition Commission of India handles multiple cases of anti-competitive behavior. For example, right, let's say the behavior of the technological companies is with the Competition Commission of India. Cement companies have come under the scanner of Competition Commission of India. So multinational companies, multiple types of companies, they will come under the lens or under the scanner of Competition Commission of India for multiple anti-competitive behavior or anti-customer behavior. Now, in this particular situation, if the Competition Commission of India does not have a quorum, the functioning of the Competition Commission of India might be affected. That is the whole point they are discussing in the article. Right? So, in the fag end of last year, and so basically in the last quarter of last calendar year, the government of India has ensured that the quorum will be made available. But despite having a quorum availability, right, even today more than 20 cases are yet to be decided by Competition Commission of India. That is what has been provided. And please understand, UPSC will not ask you how investigation is conducted here, right? Which authority will conduct investigation? I don't think so UPSC will go to that particular level. But please remember, according to the Article 22 of Competition Commission of India Act, right, there is a requirement of a quorum. There should be a quorum requirement. Okay. And the last article for the day, which appeared in Business Line on 10th of February, government launches Sarathi portal. Please remember this. Government launches Sarathi portal. Now, what is this Sarathi portal? Right? Is it relevant for UPSC? In which sector it is relevant? I'll give you a connection here. Very recently, in multiple speeches, government has mentioned, finance minister, etc., they have mentioned Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. That is a crop insurance initiative of Government of India. Apart from this, there is also discussion regarding ensuring that there is a penetration of insurance sector in certain sections of the society. Now, connect these two dots with one more initiative of the government now. Government has launched a new portal, a website by the name of Sarathi portal. And what is a Sarathi? Right, the long form is given here. Sarathi stands for Sandbox for Agriculture, Rural Security, Technology and Insurance. That is a long form of Sarathi. In simple terms, it is a portal that has been established by the government. Using this portal, insurance companies can market their products, can showcase their affordable products to various consumers or various, right, let's say customers in the market. And this portal says, or the article basically says, the portal will not just basically market or let's say provide information regarding these affordable products of the companies. No, not just that. They will go a step above this. For example, digital payments will be facilitated using the portal. Right? Premium payments will be facilitated using this portal. Tracking and resolution of your, right, let's say claims can be done using the portal. So in simple terms, it is a one-stop solution for various insurance products, and using this, government says we can increase the penetration. We can ensure that affordable insurance products are pitched to customers in the market. So these are certain important points regarding the Sarathi portal which has been launched by the government. In addition to this, please mention this number as well. Please remember and mention this number as well. That is 14447. Agriculture Minister has launched a helpline number 14447. And what is this particular 14447 helpline number? If a farmer has certain grievance, certain problem related to Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, then this is the helpline number. Farmer can call this number and get the grievance redressed. Right? This is a grievance redressal mechanism that has been announced by the government now to strengthen the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. So these are certain very important points that I wanted to discuss regarding Sarathi portal, and these are the important articles for this week. Now, before I wind up, if you are yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, kindly hit the like button as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. And one more very important announcement, a repetition now. Tomorrow, starting tomorrow, we are going to launch the English batch. From tomorrow, we will start the classes from 6 AM till 9 AM. And the first session, first class, or the first subject, should I say, will be taken up by Sarmat sir, and that will be Indian polity. If you're interested, get in touch, look at the details, right, and right, take care of yourself. See you again next week with another week's articles and discussion under the initiative of Economic Weekly Recap. Thank you. Have a great day.